Hello everyone and welcome to Club Deck Corner here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. This week there is much to talk about and much to talk we will, I think. My name is Scott Carney. Joining me for a rant, for a moan, for a chat, all things Rangers. First off is Alistair Pearson. Ali, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. I assume this podcast will be extremely negative, which it has been all season. So yes, if you're not on for a positive podcast, I would tune off now.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Just isn't going to happen. There's some. Well, there might be some. There might be some. Who knows? You never know. Joining us as well is Nicky. Irvin, Nicky, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Get that Monday feeling. I think I would agree with Ali. It's going to be a negative podcast, but listen, Clement, I hear a lot of moaning about we need more consistency. One thing is we have been consistently guffed the entire season, mate. So there is an element of consistency there, and we'll keep that up with a few moans tonight as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're out Monday night tonight. Because I am away again for work this week, so we shifted it to Monday to give the guys Tuesday and Wednesday off, and obviously we've got the game coming up on Thursday as well, so that's why we're here on the Monday. So just a few things which will be positive. This is a positive start. Our sponsors Manscaped right now are doing a Black Friday sale on their website, so there is 25% off their entire order plus free shipping. So you can't use it in conjunction with our code. However, 25% off their stuff across their website is a pretty good damn deal if you ask me. Their stuff is superb. Really good ideas for Christmas, really good ideas, even for yourself if you want to buy the stuff. I know we say it all the time and a lot of you don't believe us, but Manscaped stuff is genuinely top class. So make sure you get over and check that out. If you still want to use our code, you can, but you only get 20% off, but you can get 25% off your entire order just now, which is absolutely brilliant. So that is their Black Friday sale over at manscaped.com. Go and check that out. And don't forget, we are running our Merry Members Christmas giveaway from December 1st to December 20th. All you have to do with being in with a chance of winning is sign up to one of our YouTube memberships or channel memberships, and we will do draws at random for 5 gifts. I think it is 5 gifts between December 1st and December 20th. We'll announce winners on the podcast and we'll put it up on the community page as well, so you can see it and you can get in touch and we can get it all organised. So yeah, it's just a wee thank you and just trying to bring some cheer, some merriness, some happiness to our podcast, because yes, probably from here on in it's only going to go one way. But yeah, make sure you get over, check that out, and say just a thank you from us to you for being part of our membership on YouTube. So we will start first of all with the announcement of the CEO, the long-awaited CEO. So Rangers Football Club are delighted to announce the appointment of Patrick Stewart as its new Chief Executive Officer. Patrick will join the club on the 16th of December 2024. Patrick joins, having most recently been interim CEO at Manchester United, and he spent 18 years at one of the biggest clubs in the world, gaining vast experience and knowledge to make him an excellent fit for his new role at Rangers. I'm not going to read the entire statement because I presume everybody has already done so. Ali, it's a long-awaited appointment. I think the rumours started circulating towards the start of the weekend about Patrick Stewart being the new CEO, appointed the new CEO. I don't know anything about him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do and like that I'm well up to speed on him. However, his CV on paper does look like it's okay. Doesn't look like it's majorly bad. I think there might be some people that are a wee bit of doubt the fact that he wasn't a CEO for very long. However, mate, he has got a good CV in terms of his kind of experience that he has within football. One thing's for sure, no matter what, mate, is he's got a hell of a task on his hands. But what do you make of the initial appointment, and indeed when the appointment will be? 16th of December.
Yeah, it's about bloody time, to be honest. I know these big roles can take time in terms of bringing somebody in that kind of position. I know obviously we were looking apparently the boys St Mirren, so it's complete contrast with St Mirren to Manchester United. Yeah, in terms of a CEO, he's only had 5 months, I think, with Man United, but he's been there, as you say, 18 years. He's Man United is a big football club, very similar to us at the moment in terms of where they've been in terms of England, and they've had their troubles as well. But yeah, you'll have experience being with a big club. Rangers is a big club in a small league, so yeah, it'll be interesting. We're needing a CEO for donkeys because there is no direction at the club. Interesting that he comes in the 16th. To be honest, Karen, I don't think it'd be fair to bring him in. We've got an AGM coming up first week of December, whatever it is. That is going to be extremely tasty. He would be a guy sitting there, I'd imagine, like the rabbit in headlights with the questions. And I don't think he should be asked those questions because he's not got his feet under the table yet. So I kind of understand why they're bringing him in the 16th, because as we know, as Rangers fans, I think we know how it's going to go between now and the 16th. So you bring him in then and see what happens. But the time we get to the 16th of December, and I've heard folk laugh about it on Twitter and stuff and say that his first task could be to sack Philip Clement. But the 16th of December, when he starts that job at Rangers, we could be even bigger turmoil at that point in terms of where we are as a football club. But maybe that's another talking point for further down the line. But yeah, him coming in, same with you, I don't know much about him, but reading his CV, it looks good. It kind of ticks the boxes. So yes, hopefully it's the first of a bit of structure into the background of the football club.
I know Man United, Nicky, haven't exactly been in the best position over the past 5 years or so about where they've been. However, the demands of Man United, let's not get away from it, are one of the biggest clubs in world football. They always will be. It's how they are. There's no doubt that they are. The expectations there are high, as they will be at Ibrox. So he's not going to exactly be. I don't think he'll be caught off guard in that regard in terms of what we expect as from a CEO, from the decision making, from the path, from the structure, all the things that you want from your CEO. I don't think he'll be too shocked at that. What's your take on it, mate? I think Ali's spot on though. The appointment of it is probably. Well, it's long overdue. Yes, it is. This should have happened a long time ago. But the 16th of December, even when I seen that, I went, and we'll come on to what I think that means. But keeping him out of the firing line for the AGM, I think is critical, because Ali's right. That a week on Thursday, I think that is at the Armadillo. That is not going to be an enjoyable experience for our stakeholders, our shareholders in the club. That will not be an enjoyable one for them. But your thoughts on the appointment?
I think firstly I would agree with Ali. I think firstly it's good it's done, right? It's something that's dragged on a long time. I think naturally there will be doubts, and I think largely they are down to the fact that this club at the minute do nothing right, to be honest. So naturally we just assume we have a track record of ballsing up these big decisions, and Patrick Stewart will be the latest in that long line of kind of balls up. But I did have a laugh. I think I've said for a long time Rangers are the worst run club in Europe, and Man United are very, very close behind us in the second worst. So the fact that we've appointed someone from the second worst run club to the worst run club means we are finally moving in the right direction, albeit at a fairly sluggish pace. But I think firstly I would agree with Ali. I think on paper it looks sensible, right? He spent 15, 20 years at Man United, a variety of roles. He's experience across kind of legal, risk, regulation. He's dealt with the full operations of the football club. He's been involved in massive transformation projects. He's dealt with contract situations. But I think the thing that really jumped out at me, Scott and Ali, is he's dealt with a lot of the relationships as well with people like the FA and all the big organisations and committees that are down south. And I think when you think about a CEO, it's not just about running the football club, it's about managing those relationships and those different dynamics as well with the SFA and the SPFL and all the other ins and outs that are up here. So it looks as though he's got a decent breadth of experience. I think I would echo your guys' points. It's a massive club. I don't think there's anything that is massively going to shock us. There's a lot of similarities between us and Manchester United, as you say. Very, very successful for a period of time, have fallen by the wayside, and have ultimately made a number of very costly mistakes. The biggest issue that we have over Manchester United is we have nowhere near the commercial income that the likes of Manchester United do. You look at their TV deal, etc. They can make big mistakes, and you know what? It's part of its drops in the ocean because of the money that they get down there and the money they generate commercially as a football club. We don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So there's an even bigger scrutiny on ensuring you hit the ground running. But he's been down there for a number of years. He's seen Ed Woodward and his pomp, and he knows exactly how not to run a football club, some of the negativity that surrounds him. So come up here and do the exact opposite. But I think the big thing for me, I've spoken about this for a while, is we can't penny pinch in these big positions anymore. I've said for a long time now, you're talking about a guy who, I don't know, right? I'm pulling numbers at the sky here, but he'll maybe demand 500,000, 600k salary a year. Pay the extra 100k, 200k, whatever it is a year, because longer term, these guys, if they're managing your operations and they're managing a lot of your decision making, they can save you and make you 5 and 10 million quid over a year, right? So that 100k that you splash out on his salary ends up getting lost in roundings. But I think the other big key thing is he needs full autonomy as well, right? He needs autonomy to make decisions, and he needs to have control, right? We can't still have the Parks holding control of this club and kind of overarching over the new CEO. So he needs to have an autonomy and have that power to make these big decisions. But yeah, listen, it will be very interesting. I agree with Ali as well. I think the 16th of December, I did scratch my head a wee bit when I sat back and thought about it. AGM, some big fixtures. It would have been unfair to throw him in there because we'd have got to the 16th of December and we'd all be going, this guy's hopeless already because we're out of Europe or we'll get beaten in the cup final or whatever ends up happening. So I think it is sensible. He can come in, he can start afresh, depending on what kind of situation we're in. And yeah, listen, the proof will be in the pudding, mate. We'll see what happens with this guy. But certainly on paper, he looks fairly sensible, and I think better than some of the other names that were circulating over the last few weeks.
I think you've got to be an element of, you've got to be realistic to an extent about Rangers aren't going to get the best CEO in world football to come and manage the club. We're in a bit of a sorry state right now. We all know we are, and on paper it looks like we've managed to get probably towards the top of the list, I would think, for the money that we were likely to pay in terms of experience on paper. And again, I get this is all just on paper, but you've got to take that at face value. I think he's got enough experience for me to think, right, fair enough, I kind of get it. And I do think there's a number of quick wins that he will be able to do when he comes in. There's a lot of decisions that he'll be able to make, and he'll be able to buy himself that wee bit of time, that wee bit of confidence, because the Rangers fans, and I've said this in previous pods, Rangers fans are desperate for somebody to be a success, to get behind. They'll immediately be made the focal point of a kind of positive wave that we're all wanting to happen, because a lot of people like to think that we sit and we enjoy to feel down about the Rangers and feel annoyed by what we're seeing in terms of what we're seeing running of the club and what we're seeing on the football pitch, but it's just not the case. It isn't. Nobody gets a real joy out of it. I certainly don't. But I think, look, the appointment itself, I'm going to take it at face value just now and go, right, fair enough, we've got it now, we've done it. And I think I'll give the board credit that I think the start date's probably about right. I'm not going to lie, because there's a hell of a couple of weeks coming up. There really is. We'll come back to him to an extent, Ali, but we will move on to the Dundee United game match. Terrible performance, awful performance. Watching it back doesn't make it any better at all. A really poor show from Rangers. I hadn't realised that Dundee United were as late as they were showing up, and they had about 10 seconds on the warm-up to go off and then to come back on. I had no idea it was as quick as that. Only found that out on Sunday. I think I found all that kind of stuff out. I couldn't. It obviously made me even more kind of upset about it. Obviously on Saturday, I was quite vocal because I have reached the end of my tether now. I'm at the point where Philip Clement has to be sacked. There is no future for him now at Rangers. I want to be wrong, but I won't be. In my opinion, I won't be. I think it's too far gone now. I want to speak about Clement himself as well. In fact, we won't. I'll come to that. We'll come to after the game about what he said. We'll go into the game itself now. The first half, mate, the players are always going to get, they should be doing this better, should be doing that better. However, I believe that this is coming from the manager because of the way that we choose to set up. We seem to not really have an impetus to want to go at teams. It's very much safe play, which is leaving us with creating nothing. We don't create anything on the football pitch. We like to hold possession and whatever else, but we don't create anything from it. That first half on Saturday is up there with the worst that I've seen. It really is. Rangers were, awful, truly awful, and then beat by a simple Dundee United's first real attack up the pitch, and it's a goal. Is Clement at the point where he's so unbelievably rigid to change what he wants the players to do? Are the players looking at him and going, "I'm not doing this for you"? Is there an accumulation of all these things going on? Where do you think it comes from? Because he's not a daft man, Clement. Do you know what I mean? That's the bit that kind of confuses me, because he's not a stupid man. But anybody can see the way that you're setting up teams to go out and play, especially at home, against, no disrespect, against Dundee United, it's never going to work.
Yeah, a bit of both, to be honest. Players need to take responsibility for me as well. We're on that part. As you say, no disrespect, you're playing Dundee United at Ibrox. Rangers should be beaten, apart from Celtic, everybody at Ibrox in the league we play against, including Aberdeen, with the players we've got. And the players we've got, I don't think are good enough, but they're still better than every team in the league at the moment, bar Celtic. Aberdeen would probably come back and say, well, we're a point clear of you, so look at our squad. But they should be. But it's just the first half, Karen. It's not a shock to me, and I know you were quite animated after the game and on Saturday, and rightfully so. And I'm not giving up, but I've come to just expect it going to Ibrox now. So what I see in that first half is what I expect from them. Yeah, it comes to the manager, but I just think you look at us as a team. I just think we're so slow, lethargic. There's no pace, there's no creativity. We're waiting for somebody to do a bit of magic. I mean, I know you'll come on to the second half, but that's from one guy providing a bit of magic. And you look in previous games, and it's happened with like a Tom Lawrence beforehand. I just think we're so easy to set up against. And to me, we've got players in that team like Diamandis, etc., who I just think they look clueless, as if they don't know their role. And these teams like Dundee United that come, Hearts that came 2 weeks ago, they look better coached than us. They look like they know what they're doing. And I just think we look clueless. I think we look clueless all over the park. And then Clement, for me, and you'll come on to what he obviously said after his post-match, but I think he believes his own philosophy, and I think he is stubborn to a point, Carney. I don't think he'll change to whatever it is that will help us going forward. But it's a sad state of affairs, and I know where it's going to go. I said to you after it, and I don't want to go too far down the line because there's games to play, but I just know where we're going. We will drop again. We've got 2 away games coming up. I fully expect us to drop. And then you've got Tottenham in the cup final. Well, this is why we're not bringing this CEO in, because we all know how it's going to go. It's going to get worse. This is what we're going to see, Carney, until we remove this guy from his position. I just think the guy's clueless. But the players need to take responsibility. But then that comes down to recruitment again. I just think some of the players simply aren't good enough.
I get it with the players. I do. I can understand where you're coming from, Nicky. And this second half, we make changes after Rangers are booed off at half time yet again. We make changes where he brings on Hadji, he brings on Danilo, and Rangers do look better. I don't think Rangers were good in the second half. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we were unlucky or anything in that half, because I don't think we were. I don't think Rangers can really thoroughly say that they deserved to win that game on Saturday, because I don't think that we did. Clement is playing players, in my opinion, out of position now, just to suit this philosophy that he has. He's not utilising the players at his disposal. Diamandi's not a number 10. That's 2 really poor games at the 10 that he's had in a row. I thought he was awful again on Saturday. I really did. Hadji came on again. I don't think Hadji's the answer, but he made a hell of a different impact because, surprise, surprise, he plays in that position. Danilo as well has got more mobility than Dessers, and he will link up play. And Danilo should have scored, which is more than Dessers has done for I don't know how long now. And again, I don't believe that Danilo is really the answer. However, when the manager isn't using these players, there's to me there's something more to it. There must be something more to it. He can't just be that ignorant and that stubborn that he doesn't want to play these players, because he's making things worse for himself. And Ali's right. We all know what's coming. We all know what's going to happen and what we're going to continue to see. But what's your opinion? Is he stubborn? Is it the players? Is it a combination of it all? Because, I say, right now, we just look like a team that is just full of individuals, and a team that really looks like we were not coached at all. And this is that was Saturday was 2 weeks after an international break as well. Again, where he should have more times with the squad, and there is no improvement.
I think it is a combination of the two, Scott. For me, I think the players have just chucked it now. I think that's been evident for a period of time now, which does baffle me, right? Because I think if you reflect back to when Clement first came in, right, you look at the performances of individual players, right? James Tavernier went up several levels. John Lundstrom went up several levels. Even Cyril Dessers went up several levels from the Cyril Dessers we'd seen under Michael Beale. And if you think about all their interviews, right, they were all lauding Philippe Clement, right? He makes things so simple. We know exactly what we're doing on the park. We're playing good football. That confidence is what the hell's happened, right? What has he been doing over the summer, where that every single bit of that has just been shot to shit? I'll be completely honest. I didn't watch the game live. I didn't watch it on Saturday. Lisa, my wife, funnily enough, always calls herself a football widow, because she goes, my life revolves around you playing football, going to football, or watching football. But even now, I'm at the point where I'm not changing plans to watch that mob. Honestly, you can look at every single fixture we've had this year, right, and go into my Twitter 15 minutes after kickoff, and I bet you I've tweeted saying I'm bored already, right? I am utterly bored of watching this football team. And I'm at the point now where I'm just going, I'm not revamping my weekend to watch this mob, because they don't do anything for me, right? I don't get excited. They don't pull me off my seat. Nothing. Even that point, Scott, how bad we were in the first half, right? Yes, that is a shambles, because one, as you say, Dundee had no prep time, right? They'd been sat on a bus for 9, 10 in the morning. You know yourself, you've sat on a bus for 5 hours, whatever it is. Your legs are done in, you're expected to go and play 90 minutes. We looked like the team that had been sat on a bus for 5 or 6 hours. And then even the second half, you look at some of the stats over the course of the game, right? Close to 30 shots, 9 on target. We only had an XG of something like 2 goals, right? So even with the amount of shots and stuff we're having, it's not clear-cut chances, right? It's almost just hitting hopes. It's almost just chancing your arm. We seem to have reverted back to this old structure where we just hump balls into the box and hope something happens. And Scott, your point's probably perfect, mate. There's no patterns of play. There's no strategy of how are we going to break teams down? How are we going to move defences about? How are we going to get in behind them, right? You don't see that. You don't see the patterns of play. You don't see the triangles. You don't see the runs beyond, right? We don't see any of that. And you're absolutely right. We're relying on individuals delivering moments of magic, right? And that's a recipe for disaster when, one, you simply don't have the quality throughout your squad to do that, right? We do not have the quality to rely on individuals pulling across moments of magic. I see if you had somebody like a Nikica Jelavic in this team, he can't. He's got the ability to do that. We've seen that in the kind of 3 in a row season under Walter Smith. That kind of January to March period where it's always difficult, the weather's shit, you're playing every 3 days. Nikica Jelavic dragged us through a lot of them games, right? We don't have that sort of profile in our team at the minute. And I think the second thing is, I think players have chucked it. To your point, I think they've been played out of position. I think Diomande has got a serious amount of stick lately. I don't think it's unjustified, by the way, but you look at the Diamandi that came in, the stuff he was doing over in Denmark, he looked like a brilliant find for us. Every single bit of confidence, quality has just been zapped out of him. And do you know what? Barami's the same. Barami came in, I think he came on against Dundee United. He didn't look great. But actually, since then, you thought he's good, right? Once we get him into that 10, he will be good because he can spot a pass. He's got a good touch. He's got good vision. The confidence has been zapped out of him as well. He does not look like he wants to be on that park at the minute. And you're absolutely right, mate. We're in free fall, right? We know how this is going to end, right? We've seen it a million times. We've seen it with Gio. We've seen it with Michael Beale. We know what's going to happen, right? I think, for what it's worth, Europe's a bit of a distraction for us. And I know we'll come on and talk about Nice. I think Europe's a bit of a distraction. I think it's peeping over cracks. I think the squad in Clement are almost built to work slightly more effectively in Europe versus the more traditional domestic games where we're having to break teams down. And I think that's peeping over cracks at the minute. You think about Malmo, you think about some of the other decent results we've had in the Europa League this season. I think it's peeping over cracks. And in my opinion, it's a bit of a distraction at the minute, because I think as soon as we get down to domestic business, Ali's spot on. Those 2 away games at the minute, I'm thinking there's no way we pull 6 points for them. And in a cup final, a story in itself, mate. It's a story in itself. So it's just a disaster at the minute, mate. And we're just kicking the can down the line to the inevitable, which is Philip Clement eventually being removed from his position, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ali, Clement's comments after the game, he was put under some pretty quite serious questions, and I take my hat off to Stevie for Lads for saying to him, look, we've lost. He pretty much said, we've lost faith in you here. What have you got to say about that? And he was going on about, I would agree with it being in the first half, but the second half, no. And I'm going, I think that in itself is the problem. I think there is a real concern for me, as you said earlier, mate, that he believes his own drivel right now, and he thinks that the second half is okay. How many times is he going to sit there and say, yeah, if we do that, if we do the way we performed in the second half, we'll be fine, we're going to win points? But Phil, we're not doing that. We're not starting games well. You're not picking the right teams. And even like James Tavernier not getting on the pitch at all as we're chasing a win against Dundee United, it's going to flew under the radar. And we mentioned jokingly as James Tavernier isn't the problem, and I think Saturday is the perfect example of that. James Tavernier is not the problem, he's just a whipping boy. And I'm not saying to get Tab back in the team before anybody jumps down my throat. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's a clear indication that he is not the main problem. With the problems are much deeper than the right back position. But Clement's comments, he went on about the second half far too much for me, and he's losing me even more. Do you know what way? See, when he's talking, and I'm looking at him, I'm going, you just don't have a clue. You're not in touch with what we're seeing. I think I almost felt like he was feeling like he was slightly hard done by, and again, that's never going to end particularly well for him. Nicky's spot on as well, Ali. These next couple of games that we've got in the domestic, I mean, I can't see Rangers getting 6 points from it. I really can't. I just don't. I don't see how. I really don't see how we do. So, but with Clement now, and I'll tie it back to the appointment of the CEO, as well as you can have your say about his comments after it, because he had a wee dig at the fans as well, which I thought was a wee bit like, read the room, Phil, because you said that the fans can see what they want to see, and I was like, no, we've been seeing this for long enough now that we know exactly what we are seeing. But the CEO being appointed on the 16th of December, I don't think that's he's going to come in and sack Clement on the 16th of December. I honestly think that means that Clement will be here for at least the rest of this year. I really do. I think he's got until the next Old Firm game in the league, at least, before there'll be any change made, because I can't see the CEO coming in straight away and just going, you're sacked, mate. I just don't expect that to happen. I think that's unrealistic to think that's going to happen. What is your opinion? Do you think that Clement is going to be here long term and the CEO is going to come in? Look, no matter what, the CEO is going to have to make a decision, and when the decision is to happen, because there is no doubt in my mind that Clement has to go, and he will go.
What he says in press conferences now, Carney, is just, he waffles for me. He said it during pre-season for me. I've said way back, I've said in this podcast, there was red flags way back at the beginning of the season for me. He said a lot of sound bites. It's going to come back and bite him in the arse. I mean, the famous one we talk about, we're going to be better in October, November. I mean, that is severely.
We are worse. We are worse. I don't think that it's not even just how we feel. We are worse than what we were.
And he come back out on that one and says, "No, you'll see a better Rangers in a couple of more months." So he's kicked that can further down the road as well. But to say if Rangers play the way they played in the second half against Dundee United, we'll win pretty much every game in Scotland. No. Rangers had a lot of ball in the second half because Dundee United went, we've got a goal, there's a ball, you aren't going to do anything. I know we got a decent goal for Tierney, but these teams are quite happy when they get a goal at Ibrox to give Rangers the ball because powder puff, which I say all the time, we're not going to do anything. But I just, you look at the fixture list, we're away this weekend, and the following weekend we're away, and we've got, I think it's Clement, we've got sandwich in between that at Ibrox on a Wednesday night, which isn't an easy game. In fact, no game at Ibrox is easy at the moment with these teams coming, and they'll all fancy it. St John's at the weekend got a decent result at the weekend there, they'll fancy it. But for me, when the new CEO comes on the 16th, and how I think it's going to go and what I've said, I think we'll drop in the league before we get there. And honestly, I think we'll be beaten in the cup final. I've said it a few times in the podcast. I think Celtic will either spank us or Rangers will actually put a decent performance in, but it'll be a hard luck story for us. We've been there. We've been there so many times, but in fact, Paul at my work, he's actually a season ticket holder at Parkhead. Kind of joked today that imagine he actually won that cup final. Wow. It would paper over the cracks because it would for me, but no chance. I mean, we done our post match, Carney, and obviously Celtic hadn't played at that time, and I says they'll go and spank Hearts, and they did convincingly. And I fully expect them to do that. Brendan Rodgers will have them going out, and I know we've got weeks to go before this game, but he'll have them revved up, and they'll come out, and for me, they'll just run over the top of us in the first half. But he should have gone weeks and weeks ago. Kilmarnock, for me, was a game that they should have pulled the trigger on him. So what do we do? Because this guy's a new CEO and he comes in, and if my prediction goes correct and we drop points, go further behind Celtic and potentially Aberdeen, and potentially lose big in a cup final, do you keep him in the job just because we've got a new CEO coming? For me, no. He's got to go. He's lost the fans, Carney. I don't know any fan that's still with him at the moment. Look at Ibrox at the weekend, and I know the weather conditions weren't great, but look at it. Even with 10 minutes to go, Carney, when we're chasing a goal, most folk just disappeared. Some folk aren't even going to games anymore. There's Nicky saying they didn't watch the game because that's how much the Rangers turn people off at the moment, and I don't blame them. I think we're the mugs, Carney, for going every week, to be honest. But it's for me, I don't think there's any way back for Clement. I really don't. He would have to have some sort of miracle in terms of winning every game and winning a cup and a Scottish Cup, but we're kicking a can down the road. He will go at some point, but when we pull the trigger, it'll be far too late.
Nicky, does the new CEO have to make that decision straight away? Do you think to have any real chance of succeeding in the role that he's coming into, that after the 16th, that he is that Clement's sacked? Because look, if it goes, I know it's so hypothetical, but really on form and the way we are playing, for like we're 11 points behind. We're 11 points behind first. We're 11 points from 10th as well. So we are very much in mid-table form right now. We are not playing very good at all. There is no recovery for me this season, especially the league. The league is absolutely done, like completely done. It was done before the weekend, but the weekend confirmed it. I say Aberdeen dropping points and we do nothing. Literally do nothing. We draw against Dundee United. But does the CEO have to come in? If our predictions are correct, that we likely is we'll drop points before the Old Firm final, we'll probably get beat in the Old Firm final. At that point, we've maybe been scudded by Spurs in Europe. Could be embarrassing. Genuinely could be embarrassing. If all of that comes true, does as soon as the guy walks through the front door, he tells Phil, there is the door, use the one that I've just used to come in, and cheerio?
It's a difficult one, mate. I mean, by rights, he probably should. Like, hypothetically, if that scenario comes true where we're more than 11 points behind, we've had a doing off Spurs, and we get convincingly beat in the League Cup final, every single argument would point to Philip Clement being removed from his position. And to be honest, Patrick Stewart would probably get a bit of credit in the bank if that was the first thing that came in, right? He'd win over 95% of the fan base immediately if that was his first port of call. Whether or not he will be in a position to do that, again, we come back to this autonomy piece, right? And how much control he'll be given. Would the board members go, right, Patrick, literally, do whatever the hell you want. If that means sacking Philip Clement, then go for it. I can't see it. I would imagine the board, etc., would still have a heavy influence on what the decision is. By that point, again, thinking about that scenario, Scott, maybe they would say, we need to remove this guy. That's the first thing that we need to resolve, because actually this is what's happened over the last kind of few weeks since your announcement to actually take and roll. I mean, for me, if I'm the board at the minute, I've said this already, right? And people might disagree with me a wee bit. I'd forget about Europe this year, genuinely. I'd forget about it. I think it's a distraction. As I say, I think this club or this team is built in a way that suits us in Europe, because we can we've got more space. We can play that kind of counter-attacking football. It's a blueprint that is absolutely, utterly useless in our domestic games, but it seems to work fairly well against kind of pound for pound teams, similar teams. Yeah, it doesn't always work. We've seen Leon rock up here and give us a bit of a doing, because they're a big technical, physical football team. But a lot of these teams like Nice, etc., we could probably get a result on Thursday, genuinely, but I think it's just papering over cracks. For me, if I'm the board at the minute, I'm with you, Scott. The league's done, right? There's absolutely no way that we will anywhere near challenge for this title, right? It would need to be the drop-off of all drop-offs from Celtic for us to get anywhere near them, and we would need to be ultimately flawless between now and the end of the season, right? It's just not going to happen. For me, if I'm the board, I'm going, what gives us the best chance of sticking a trophy in a cabinet on the 15th of December? That's what I'm caring about right now, right? Is what gives us the best opportunity of sticking a trophy in the cabinet on the 15th of December? Is that Phil Clement? See if it's not, get rid of him now and get somebody in who's got 2 or 3 weeks that might give this team a bit of a jag, right? Whether it's McInnes or somebody else, somebody who's going to come in, will give this team a bit of a jag and give us the best fighting chance of putting a trophy in the cabinet. Because again, that is what will buy credit with this football, with this fan base, right? Sticking a trophy in the cabinet. So for me, at the minute, I'm going, that's the only thing I'm concerned about right now, is how can we win the fixture on the 15th of December, right? Once that's out of the way, then you can start thinking slightly more longer term. And when I say longer term, the league's probably still done, right? You're probably more thinking about how do we start to put together some form of consistency and plan in the league, and also focus probably on the Scottish Cup, right? That would be your focus at the minute, is how do we secure both the domestic cups? So whether that's Phil Clement, I would be amazed if that's Phil Clement at the minute. I've seen a few things, a few tweets going, who would you rather in the kind of box on Thursday night, Philip Clement or maybe like an Alex Ray or somebody? At the minute, I couldn't really care less, right? See if we get beat 3-0 off Nice, I couldn't really care less. All I'm caring about at the minute is how can we beat Celtic on the 15th of December, get that trophy, and then we can start thinking about what damage limitation we can do in the league and how we can focus on the Scottish Cup, mate. If that's Phil Clement and that's what the board think, my opinion is it's probably not the right thing, but if that's what they think, then fair dues. See if it's not Phil Clement, why are we kicking the can down the road for something bad to happen on the 15th of December to go, well, we tried, we'll now remove you. We've now lost that trophy. We're out the league. The only consolation we will then have at that point is the Scottish Cup. It's just a waste of time for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the board have made it quite quite clear they're incapable of doing two things at the one time. They can't have two decisions to make at the one time. It all has to be one thing at a time. Hence, I think the CEO appointment. And you're right, mate, in terms of with Clement. I don't think Clement's the guy to take us forward, and I don't think Clement wins the Premier Sports Cup, and that might make me unstaunch saying that, but if you believe that we've got a fighting chance against Celtic in the final, then I would love to have some of what you're on, because I just don't see it happening. Ali, Nice on Thursday night. How can you possibly predict a game like this? I have got no idea what Rangers I'm going to see. I've got no clue. We could be utter dross and get absolutely scudded, or we could probably put in a decent performance. Maybe we'll get a wee break from the domestic football we're playing, obviously over in France, and maybe we'll see a rejuvenated Rangers. It's very difficult to predict right now, mate. But right now, we're still in a chance for progression from the Europa League. We really are. A decent result in Nice would go a long way for us to have a chance to progress. Preview the game, mate, because I can't.
Europa League, it's a sideshow for me. I agree with Nicky. It is a sideshow for me. I think it's a sideshow for the players, because for me, there's no pressure on them in Europa League going into these games, and the teams are playing. I don't think there's pressure on them, and that's why you see them play. I know they're playing against teams that open up against them, which kind of suits this Rangers team, but there's no pressure on them. When they go back into domestic in the league, where there is pressure on them, that's where they falter. But it wouldn't shock me, Carney, if we get a result this Thursday night. But at the same time, it wouldn't shock me if we get skilled. So you just don't know what you're going to see. You really
what
don't know.
Are we? What is this football club? Honestly, man.
I know they'll be doing bloody university courses and Rangers and
honestly
studies on them, but I honestly don't know what I'm going to see. But I just wouldn't be shocked. I mean, Nice. I was looking at Nice today. I think they're sitting fifth in their league. I think they won at the weekend and can go on kind of all right. I don't know overly much about them in terms of their players. I think I read a thing about it, and they've got a bit of pace in their team, which isn't ideal because we don't like teams with pace running at us. But
we also don't like low. We also don't like low blocks. No. We also don't like people taking set pieces against us. We also don't like.
But you just don't know, because Rangers away from home in Europe this season have been good. We put a very good performance in against Olympiacos. We're unlucky not to win that game. The other game as well, where we won the game too. So Malmo. It's in Malmo, yeah. So you just don't know. You just don't know what this Rangers team. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked, Carney. I wouldn't be shocked if we went to Nice, beat Nice, but then get beat off St Johnstone on Sunday. That wouldn't shock me.
That sounds about right, mate. That sounds pretty perfect. That's exactly what will happen. Nicky, look, for see any sort of chance of success on Thursday evening, I think, and I'm not a fan of this, but I think he has to play Ridvan at left back, Diomande at left back, he has to play Jeffrey at left wing, and he has to put Barami in the 10. Diomande cannot be playing in the 10, and obviously Hadji's not on the European team. He has to do it. There's no ifs, no buts about it. You have to get somebody else to play on the left-hand side, and you have to put Barami into the 10 in the middle of the park. Again, we're going to have to go with Dessers because Danilo isn't in the European squad. I'll pause for dramatic effect because I've got no idea why he isn't, even though I don't think is the answer, but he's a shit lot better to watch than what Dessers is. But for any real success, Barami needs to play where he's meant to be played, where we signed him to play, and hopefully it gives a spark to the team. But Ali's right, mate. We could go out, put a decent performance in, maybe get a win on Thursday night, and then go to St Johnstone and get beat.
Low bar with Dessers there, mate. I watch my wee boy on a Sunday who's got the attention span of a freaking goldfish, and he's more entertaining than Dessers at the minute. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. And in short, I'm not even sure I'm ready for a rejuvenated Rangers. I don't think my sanity can take a monumental, colossal performance by this squad, because it just gets your hopes up, and then it drops, and then you're up, and then you're down. Honestly, it is utterly a roller coaster watching this football team. Nice will be decent. Ali's right, they're fifth in League 1. I don't think they're doing well in Europa League. I think I looked, they're way down kind of 30th or so in the Europa League. I think they've only taken 2 points from their opening kind of 4 fixtures. I don't recognise a lot of the names in their team. I think Big Dante's the Brazilian centre-half. I recognise him, and I think the boy in Ndombele used to play with Spurs, I think's there, but you know what you get with French teams, right? Technically, they'll be good. Physically, they'll be strong. They'll be quick. I think that's the absolute perfect combination of teams that we don't want to come up against right now. When you think about our structure and how easy it is to play against us, and how poor we look when teams transition against us and get up parts quickly. You think about Lyon, the amount of times Lyon won the ball at the edge of their box and they were in and around our box in 4 or 5 seconds and we were miles off it. I think Nice, maybe not as good as Lyon, but I think they will be a similar sort of build to that Lyon team. But I think, again, I see it as a sideshow. Like I said earlier, like Ali said, I'm probably not overly caring what the result is at the minute. If we win, fantastic. If we manage to get a hard-fought draw, fantastic. On the flip side, see if we get beat or we get turned over quite convincingly, I won't overly be concerned as well. As I say, at the minute, I've almost written off the league. The Europa League is a bonus if we do anything there. It's simply peeping over cracks at the minute. But for me, all eyes is on the cup final, mate, in the middle of December, mate. So, in short, what do I think I'll see? No idea.
Everybody's the same.
Oh, no.
Very good, very difficult game to predict. Let's try and finish on a positive. Ali, give me a score prediction for Thursday.
Do you want my team as well?
Go do a team. Do a team.
What you said in terms of Yilmaz and Jeffy was exactly what I would do for Thursday night. For me,
he won't.
Oh, he won't. But for me, he has to, because Diamande I just think he's a lost chance. He's usually actually better in Europe, Diamande, but it's just, for me, I just pull him out at the moment. So my team would be Butland, Sterling, Suter, Balogun. I'm not playing proper. I think he's absolute dog meat, by the way. So he's not playing.
He had a cheat, by the way. I don't know if you've seen him in the papers today saying this league's full of long ball merchants, and it's like, and you still can't deal with them.
Yeah. Oh, God. So he's not playing for me. I agree. On the left-hand side, Yilmaz come on the park for 10-15 minutes at the weekend, whatever it was. I'm hoping that's because he's playing tomorrow night, so I'm playing Yilmaz there. Raskin, Barron, Barani is a 10. I agree. Jeffy in the left, Czerny in the right, because he seems the only guy at the moment that gives a shit, to be honest, at the moment. Mm-hmm. And your only option is Dessers up front, because again, I seen Igaman at the weekend, and I don't know. I'm not writing him off before folk jump down my neck, but I look at him at times and go, oh, he's very raw. And my score prediction, oh God, I'm going to go 2-2. And I'm going to go Czerny to score the first goal.
Well, I'll take it, mate. My starting 11 would be Davy Weir in goal, Davy Weir at right back, Davy Weir at centre half, Davy Weir at other centre half, Davy Weir at left. My team's probably is exactly the same as yours, mate. I think that's what he should do. I really do. I think he might play proper, though. I know you're not particularly like that, Ali, but I think he might, because it's European football. I think you might play him. But apart from that, that's what I would do. I would get Brahmi in the middle of the pitch. Somehow, one way or another, get him in the middle of the pitch. I'll go for... I can't even say like 3-2 that Rangers are going to score 3 goals, because we won't score 3 goals. I'll go 2-1 Rangers, and again I'll go Czerny to score both of them. Or if Barami plays in the 10, I'll go for Barami to score first. Actually, there you go. Nicky, your team and your score prediction.
Scott, I've just realised, apologies, mate. You asked me a question about Yilmaz and Jeffy, and I just completely blanked it. You're the main man in this podcast, and I just completely blanked your question. I just missed it. I think you asked me a question. I just thought I'm not even answering that. I just moved on to my agenda.
I shouldn't admit it, mate, but I fell asleep, put the wee man down, mate. So when I've woke up and come on to do this pod, I'm kind of like, what day is it?
To answer that question, I would love to see that. I think it would give us a bit of energy in that left-hand side. To Ali's point, Yilmaz did play 10-15 minutes, but you know Clement, right? Every player goes through a 3-month recovery programme at Glasgow Rangers now, so I reckon it'll be January, February before we see 15 or 20 minutes of Ridvan Yilmaz. But I don't think he will do that. I think the team I've selected is the team I think Clement will play. So Butland, I think Tav might come back in. Genuinely, I think Tav might come back in. So I think it'll be Tav. I think it'll be Suter. I think it'll go Balogun. I think he'll pull Proper out. I think it'll be Yefty left back, Barron and Raskin. I think Cherny on the right. I think Barami on the left. I think Diomande will be in the 10. And Cyril Dessers will be
I can't wait. I can't wait, honestly. I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm buzzing for Thursday.
I've actually just zapped my own enthusiasm just writing that off here. But yeah, I suspect that will be the team that's tried and tested. I think that will be the team he plays. I'd actually written down 2 each, and then Ali said it, and actually in reflection I go, I really can't see his team scoring 2 goals. I can see he's conceding 2, but I can't see he's scoring 2. So I'm actually going to revert. I'm going to go 1-0. I think we'll maybe get a hard-fought draw. And I'm going to go D9 to score the goal, mate.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a difficult one to predict. So honestly, I don't think anybody really knows what Rangers we're going to see on Thursday night. But it will be interesting nonetheless, and we will be with you no matter what. And I'm sorry, everybody, generally, if you think we are being too negative and all that, but I'm never going to sit here and pretend that I'm happy with stuff. I've said this to you a million times. We get some stick for it, but other people seem to understand it. But
there's a difference, Scott, between being negative and being realistic of where we are at the minute. And I think what we are at the minute is very realistic of the situation we're in.
And it's generally not like me. People, I mean, we've been 4 years, this pod's now nearly been going, and I think if you've been watching for long enough, I don't tend to do it. I always stay glass half full. I genuinely do. But now I'm like, there isn't even a glass. It melts over the flare. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not even a point in it anymore. But yeah, that's the way it's always going to be. But anyway, for tonight, Alistair, thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, I mean, your eyes don't lie from what you see. I've been saying to Stu at my work, Carney, and I've been saying to him for months. I mean, you might as well call me Bloody Mystic Meg because I've predicted everything that's going to happen to Rangers, what I've told him, because your eyes don't lie. So if people think we're negative, then again, folk can have their own opinions. That's fair enough. But I'd like to think the majority of people listen to us because we say what we think, and basically what we see at this present point is simply not good enough. But yeah, Thursday night for me, it's a wee sideshow for me, a distraction from domestic football, because you never know. Rangers on a Thursday night in Europa League, anything can happen. We've seen it this season as well, so I'll probably look forward to it by the time it comes round on Thursday.
Yeah, I think you taking a holiday halfway through the first half of the season seems to have worked wonders for your mental health, mate, and your anger issues that I've seen many a time while we've watched Rangers together, because you're a different man, mate. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the dog. Maybe it's all the dog walking you're doing. Who knows?
Thanks, Philip Clement, for that. For taking the soul out of Rangers and me as well. So
yeah, honestly. Nicky, thanks, mate.
Thanks for having us on, mate. I think like Ali, it's hard to look forward to the game at the minute, but I think come Thursday morning, I'll probably be looking forward to it. Sometimes it is nice to just get a wee bit of midweek football. I think certainly as footballers as well, whenever you've played football, you watch football, the one thing players want to do after bad results is get out the next day and try and put things right. So maybe we will see a bit of a reaction, whether it will last beyond 90 minutes into the weekend. Who knows? But we'll wait and see what happens on Thursday. But thanks for having us on, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday with a reaction. Win, lose or draw, we will be there as we are going to witness together what Rangers team we see on Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. If you do like content, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. We've welcomed a lot of new subscribers over the past kind of month or so. So presumably not all of you hate how negative we are or how realistic we are. I'm going to start calling it realistic instead of negativity. How realistic we are. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, all the usual stuff, and we will speak to you on Thursday after the game. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.